take a look at your Chapter 3 lab, we're going to be doing the probability game of high-low. In order to complete this lab, please make sure that you have printed out your document from your Chapter 3 module for your lab, reviewed it, and that you watched this video. Once you've completed this lab, you will make sure that you go back to your Chapter 3 module and find Chapter 3 Lab Answer Entry Sheet where you will enter your answers based on your lab results today. Alright, in this lab, we're going to play the card game high-low. The goal of the game is to guess whether the next card is higher or lower than the last one that you were dealt. Since this is a statistics class, we want to use the probabilities to help us make an educated guess on the high or the low. We will play the game with the added element that you will calculate several probabilities before making your high-low guess. We're actually going to do 2 rounds of this game. We're going to play game 1, where we eliminate some of the cards and only play with 10 out of 52. This will make our probabilities a little more simple to deal with in the first game. So the materials that you need will be an optional calculator and, of course, this document. Typically, when playing that high-low game, we will use all 52 cards, excluding the jokers. But as I said, for game 1, we're only going to use 10 cards. So take your standard deck of 52 cards, and I have shuffled them up. After shuffling them, I'm going to throw out 10 cards. Alright, and so those 10 cards, once I've got them flipped out, I'll call them out, but then we're going to put them in numerical order from least to greatest. So that's what you'll actually write on your game 1 in your 10 boxes, those cards that I flip over from least to greatest. Okay, so the cards that I flipped over are going to be 9 of clubs, 7 of hearts, a jack of hearts, a 4 of spades, a 5 of spades, a 4 of diamonds, a 7 of clubs, an 8 of clubs, a jack of diamonds, and a 9 of diamonds. So now we're going to take those cards and put them in numerical order from least to greatest, and you're going to fill them out in your 10 boxes under game 1 on page 1 of your lab. So in your first box, you're going to put 4 of spades, 4 of diamonds, 5 of spades, 7 of hearts, 7 of clubs, 8 of clubs, 9 of diamonds, 9 of clubs, jack of diamonds, and jack of hearts. Putting them in numerical order will just make finding probabilities a little easier. Alright, so now I'm going to take those 10 cards and I'm going to mix them up so that they are in a random order. Once I've mixed them up, I'm now placing them on the table face down, and I'm going to draw 1 card at a time. We are then going to complete your 5 rows of information and find your probabilities. So the first card that I have flipped over is going to be a 9 of diamonds. So in the first row, first column, write 9 of diamonds. Now go up to your 10 cards that you have written in numerical order and mark out the 9 of diamonds. Now you have reduced your sample space from 10 cards to 9 cards. Now the probability that the next card is going to be higher than that 9 of diamonds. In your list of cards, look at the number of cards that are going to be higher than the 9 of diamonds that you've marked out. Those 2 cards that are higher are the jack of diamonds and the jack of hearts. So that is 2 cards out of a sample space of 9. So the probability that the next card is higher is going to be 2 over 9, or 2 9ths. The probability that the next card is going to be lower, so now take a look at the cards to the left of that 9 of diamonds. And I have 6 cards that are to the left of the 9 of diamonds. Those cards being 4 of spades, 4 of diamonds, 5 of spades, 7 of hearts, 7 of clubs, and 8 of clubs. Alright, so I have 6 cards out of the sample space of 9, giving me a probability of 6 over 9. When I reduce that fraction, of course, that's going to become 2/3. Now do the probability that the next card has an equal value. Well, there is 1 9 left in my sample space of 9, and that's going to be the 9 of clubs. So my probability that the next card is going to have an equal value to the 9 of diamonds is 1 out of 9. Now take an educated guess. So based on my probabilities, I'm going to guess that the next card I flip over is going to be lower. Alright, so let's flip over our second card. The second card that I flip over is going to be the 4 of spades. Let's take a moment and fill out our chart. Go to the top of your list where you have your 10 cards and mark out your 4 of spades. So that gives me now a sample space of 8 cards. That will be your new denominator for this row. How many cards are left that are higher than that 4 of spades? There are 7 cards higher than the 4 of spades that are not marked out. So my probability that it's going to be higher is 7/8. What about the probability that the next card is going to be lower than that 4 of spades? There are 0 cards in my sample space that are lower than a 4 of spades, so my probability is 0. What about the probability that the next card is going to be of equal value? I have a 4 of diamonds. That's the only card that I have that is in my sample space of equal value to the 4 of spades. So that's going to be 1 card out of a sample space of 8, or a probability of 1/8. So my next guess is going to be, based on my probabilities, higher. I believe that my next card I flip over will be higher. But I also need to go back and fill in that first row, last column. From the 9 of diamonds to the 4 of spades, we believed that we would have a lower card. Was my guess correct, yes or no? And of course my answer for that would be yes. The next card I flip over is a 4 of diamonds. Take a moment, pause the video, and fill out your rows. And of course, if I go back and look from the 4 of spades to the 4 of diamonds, my guess was that I would draw higher. I did not draw higher, so in that column I write no. The next card that I flip over is a 9 of clubs. Take a moment, pause the video, and complete your probabilities as well as your guess. The next card that I flip over is a Jack of Hearts. Take just a moment, fill out your probabilities and your guess. And of course, that last column in the very last row will not have an answer since we're not drawing a 6th card to know whether your guess was right or not. Keep in mind as you play this game some helpful hints from your lab sheet. We're going to leave these probabilities in fractions because it will make your probabilities a little easier to look at. Also remember that an ace is a low card, or the equivalent of a 1. So once you've completed Game 1, you're now going to answer a couple questions based on Game 1's results. After you've answered those questions, we'll now move to Game 2. In Game 2, we now take the entire deck of 52 cards, shuffle them, and then turn them face down. So we'll now play with all 52 cards. This is where you'll fill out your next table on Game 2, and then of course answer some questions based on Game 2's results. Okay, so after you have taken your 52 cards, shuffled the deck, and laid them face down, for Game 2, we're going to begin by flipping over cards. So in your chart, please fill this out. So the first card I'm flipping over is a 9 of diamonds. Go up to your image of the 52 cards and mark out the 9 of diamonds. Now, to get the probability of the cards that are higher, keep in mind that the 9 of diamonds is marked out, which means my sample space is now 51 cards. So that will be your denominator for this first row. So when I go to count the cards that are higher than the 9 of diamonds, that would be your 10, Jack, Queen, and King, and there are 4 suits. So that's 4 cards at 4 suits is 16 cards. So my probability that a card is going to be higher than the 9 of diamonds is 16 cards out of 51. Okay, now do your probability that it's lower. So the cards that are lower than that 9 of diamonds is going to be the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. At 4 suits, so that's going to be 32 cards. There are 32 cards lower than the 9 of diamonds. So your probability for that area in your chart is going to be 32 over 51. The probability that you are going to be equal to the 9 of diamonds are the 3 cards remaining, 9 of spades, 9 of hearts, and 9 of clubs. That will be a probability of 3 over 51. Now, looking at your probabilities, please make an educated guess. I'm going to guess that I'm going to draw a card that is lower than the 9 of diamonds. So now let's flip our second card and see if we were right. Flipping over my second card, I get the 10 of clubs. So was my guess correct? No. I fill in a no, and then fill in that second row of information. So for the 10 of clubs, you'll now go up to your image, mark out the 10 of clubs, and now your sample space is 50 cards. That will be your new denominator for row 2. Go through and count the number of cards that are higher than the 10 of clubs, lower than the 10 of clubs, or equal those cards that are left that you've not marked out. So take a moment and fill in your second row. Pause the video as needed. The third card that we have flipped in the second game is the 3 of clubs. So write down the 3 of clubs, take a moment, pause the video, and fill in the remainder of your probabilities as well as your guess. The next card I flip over is a 4 of hearts. Pause the video, complete your row. The next card that I flip over is the 6 of spades. Mark that card out of your sample space at the top. Take a moment to fill in your probability and your guess. The next card I flip over is a 2 of clubs. Pause the video and complete your row. The next card that I flipped over is a 2 of diamonds. Pause the video and complete your row. The next card we have is a 4 of spades. Pause the video, take a moment, and fill in your probabilities and your guess. The next card that I flip over is an ace of diamonds. Pause the video, fill in your row. And the last card that I flipped over is a 7 of diamonds. Pause the video and complete your row. The only thing that you will not be able to fill out is the very last column of the last row because we're not going to flip over an 11th card. Pause the video and get your chart completed. Once you've got your chart completed, go ahead and complete your reflection questions, answering those questions based on your information. When you have finished, please go into your Canvas Chapter 3 module and find Chapter 3 Lab Answer Entry Sheet and click on it to enter your answers. Remember, those answers are going to come directly from this lab, so have your completed lab next to you as you begin your work.